Before we go to the podcast, I just want to say that for all of you out there doing big things, little things to make this world a better place, steady on. You make a difference. Fill to capacity. Crazy good stories and timely topics. Podcast for people too stubborn to quit and too creative not to make a difference. Inspiring, irreverent, and informative. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Pat Benincasa, and welcome to Fill to Capacity. Today's episode, DT Ranch, a big-hearted story of rescue, hope, and second chances. My guests are Diana and Todd Burns. Well, welcome. It's so nice to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Great to be here.
Here's a brief bio. According to Todd, Diana is ranch boss.
That's correct.
That's right. So we've got that right up front. Now, Todd is a musician and he has music on Spotify. He's also an author of a children's book called A Silly Little Ranch, and that's available on Amazon. So let's talk about DT Ranch. It is a rescue and rehabilitation farm and petting zoo, and it's located in Marlow, Oklahoma. And of course, Diana and Todd run it. They rehabilitate wildlife. What that means, they get sick or orphaned babies or injured animals and nurse them back to health. Then they return them back to the wild. Now, they get everything. I'm going to make the list. Deer, fawns, horses, donkeys, skunks, miniature horses, prairie dogs, squirrels, cows, calves, bulls, bearded dragon, chickens, llamas, goats, possums, Mississippi kites, that's a small gray falcon-like bird, baby porcupines, ducklings, peafowl, tortoises. Did I miss anything?
I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
So far, anyway.
Okay. Now, with that many animals, what does a typical day look like in your lives?
Well, when I get up in the morning, I go to the kitchen and start preparing the food for my pet skunks I have, the 2 tortoises that are outside, and then I have 7 opossums that I'm rehabilitating, so I have to get them their food ready. I also have a baby squirrel that I'm rehabilitating, so I have to make formula for that. So by the time I get done feeding everybody inside and my rehabilitating wildlife, it takes me about 20 minutes. And that's just for the animals, inside. Well, I have the possums and tortoises outside, but that's just 20 minutes right there.
Okay.
Then after I get them done, because I have to clean their cages too, their area, their potty boxes, because my skunks use potty boxes. Then I go outside. And then I get John Boy and Tucson into the building.
What is John Boy and Tucson?
John Boy is my dwarf miniature pony. He has dwarfism. He's a very special guy. And then Tucson is my alpaca. That's just one of my alpacas. The other guy, he stays out. But these 2 guys comes into the building, and I feed them and I gather up all the other food for all the other animals. So I use these Miracle Whip tubs, the big tubs.
Yeah.
And I have at least 7 of them full of food. And I walk around the outside taking care of all the animals that's outside then. Wow. So that's another half hour between feeding them water and hay. So it takes me about an hour to an hour and a half every morning to get everybody fed. So that's my morning every day.
Okay. So it's obviously labor intensive. You have vet bills, feed bills, barns, and buildings to maintain. Why do you do it? What drew you to do this work?
Pat, I don't want to be one of these people that sit at home and say, I wish I could have something like that, or I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that. I wish I could help these animals. I don't want to be that wishy-washy person. I want to help.
Yeah.
No matter what, I want to help. We've had it rough for the past 2 years. My husband lost his job 2 years ago. He worked at Halliburton. So we've gone through all of our savings. We've gone through all of our 401ks. Right now, we're just living from paycheck to paycheck. When we can't pay our mortgage, I have to sell one of my animals, which these are my kids, in order to pay our bills. Winter's coming, so I'm going to have to hustle and go around and find stuff, personal stuff, to start selling.
Okay.
So I can get enough money in the bank to pay for the feed bills for the animals. So
Now-
I don't have to give up.
Your babies.
Yeah, they're my children. People come out here and they said, "Well, you have such well-behaved animals." I said, "It's because I treat them like they're my children.
Yep. Yep.
They are my kids."
Now you have a petting zoo as well. So do you get a lot of kids coming out and families?
It's been kind of sparse. We've been advertising. We get maybe 4 families a weekend, and I've had a 7 slot open, and I only get maybe half filled. And it's by donations only. They come out, they get to see the tortoises, pet them. They get to pet the goats and play with the goats. I have a mini pig that they get to feed. I also have a horse that I put them on my horse and I pony them around. And then they get to ride on a trailer and go out and see the cows and pet the cows.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's what we do on the weekends to bring in extra income.
Okay.
And then I do events too, if like Garden Town, they had me out there last year for the fall. Raised a lot of money with them.
Okay, so you
having
do
me there.
so you do events too.
Yeah, we do events. We do birthday parties here.
Oh, okay.
They get 2 hours. Yeah, they get birthday parties. They get 2 hours on the ranch. They can play with the animals and just interact with them. One time, she's just turning 5 years old. I took my Prairie Dog out there with a birthday hat on it, and we sang happy birthday to the little 5-year-old. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I follow you on Facebook, and folks, if you want to know what's happening on DT Ranch, you can follow their Facebook page. And I saw that someone had dropped off a load of watermelons, zucchini, and sweet feed. Does this happen a lot? Like, what compels people to bring you quantities of produce and feed?
Well, I wish it would happen more than just once. She follows us, and she was cleaning up her garden, and she just had all this extra produce. And she texted me. She said, "Hey, can your animals? Do you think they'd like this?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, they would." The week before, I had just spent $80 in getting fresh produce for my tortoises and for my pet skunks.
Wow.
These skunks were handed over to me because the people, one was she was changing jobs and she was going on the road, so
Yeah.
she wouldn't be home. But the other one was she didn't do her homework. And skunks at the age of 4 months old goes through what you call a terrible twos. They get very nippy, and it's because at 9 months old they're actually an adult. So for I don't know about 4 weeks they get nippy. You can't hold them, you can't pet them. It's hormones.
Okay.
And it was biting her daughter, and they were scared of it. So I ended up with another skunk, which I'm fine with that. He never bit me. He came right out of the terrible twos, and he's a sweetheart.
Okay.
But When we do our petting zoo, it's an educational tour. I educate people on the animals.
Nice.
Tortoises live to be 70 years old. Donkeys can live to be 50.
Whoa.
A mini pig is not considered full grown until it's 5 years old. A 6-month-old sow can get pregnant. So when you see a small pig and somebody says, well, they're adults, they're not going to get any bigger, they're only 15 pounds, they're lying to you.
Okay.
There is no such thing as a teacup or a micro pig.
Good to know.
So I educate people when I come out so that, because they see my animals and they immediately want what I have, and I educate them because it's a lot of work. Like the alpacas. The alpacas are cute, but they're a lot of work. They need special feed and they have to be sheared once a year. So you have to either do it yourself or find somebody to do it for you.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you, is somebody hammering out there? We're hearing a tap, tap, tap.
It's our prairie dog.
Can we pause and just?
Because I'm hearing tap, 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 tap. I thought maybe somebody's hammering.
It's our prairie dog tearing up a Coke box.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
It's the prairie dog.
They like to play when we put the Coke boxes in there, and they just
There
tear
you
them
go.
up and they're banging them on.
Well, I'm glad we figured that out. Okay, we'll start again. Now, for my next question, I want listeners to know that this is going to be kind of a tough subject, so I want to give a heads up. Will you tell us about the kill pens? What are they?
Okay. Whenever you take your horse or donkey to an auction, a livestock auction, or a sales barn, it just depends on which, what part of the country you're in, what they call it. There are people there that for their living gather up horses and donkeys and take them back to their place and try to resell them for the amount that they would get if they shipped them down to Mexico for food. I think there's a place in Canada also.
Okay.
So your beloved pet, that your horse that you grew up with, that there's nothing wrong with them. Situations happen, you have to sell them. You take them to a livestock auction or a sales barn, and you think a person like me or maybe you or another family is going to get your beloved pet and give it a good home, ends up in a trailer. They're usually about a 20-foot trailer, crammed full of horses. Sometimes the horses had babies by their side, little fillies or colts that's maybe a month old, and they get shipped to their, destination of where these people will try to resell them. And if not, your beloved pet is heading to Mexico or Canada for dog food or whatever food.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Diana. If someone is listening right now and they have that beloved horse or donkey, how do they know who is buying their donkey? How can they do this in a way that they are sure that it's not going to go to a kill pen, but these people are reputable? How do people know that?
Well, the biggest thing is, in fact, I had somebody call me. First thing out of their mouth is, how much does that horse weigh? How much does a donkey weigh? That right there is a sign that they are kill buyers. Because if you're asking more than what they can get at the slaughterhouse, they're not going to pay for that.
Okay.
And another thing, don't give your horses away. Don't give your donkeys away. They will pick them up quicker than quick. And a lot of times, a lot of them does not try to rehome them. They don't want to mess with people. They just get your animals and take them and ship them for food. Right now, donkeys are in high demand because of China. They like their hides. They do something with their hides. I don't know, some medicinal purpose they use their hides for. They are snatching the hides up. So
Okay.
donkeys are in grave danger.
So
So
we got a really good story on this though, Pat. Yeah, this is what we do. We went and rescued a mama and her little baby, and the baby was born the day before, and I got to hold that little baby on my way home in the back seat of our Suburban all the way home to give it a good home. And she is here now at our ranch. And so she's a beautiful, loving pet that we've
Oh,
got. And I said, make sure, you know, you do your research and your homework
yep.
so that someone who will care for them gets them.
well, do you want me to talk about Sergeant Deuce?
Well, I was going to ask you, I understand that you have a U.S. military sergeant living with you
Yes.
folks. And I was going to ask you to explain, who is Sergeant Deuce?
Sergeant Deuce is a mascot. Well, he's retired mascot of Fort Sill. I had a call one day and they said, hey, we need to retire Sergeant Deuce. And he's medically retired. He keeps getting problems with his feet. He abscessed on his feet and he can't work.
Okay, what is
I
he?
said, okay.
Wait, what?
He's a donkey. He's a
Okay.
standard donkey. And so I said, sure, I'll take him. And I said, are you looking for another one? He said, yes, ma'am. I said, well, you know what? I got one here that came from the kill pen. And he same color, Sergeant Deuce, same size. So they came out, they had their vet look at this donkey that was slated to go to the slaughter in Mexico. And he is now serving proudly in the United States Army at Fort Sill.
Oh, what a great story. That's wonderful.
Yes.
And so now
Yes.
Sergeant Deuce is retired.
Yep. He's living a good life. We got a farrier out here. They trimmed up his feet real good, got rid of all the abscess. And yeah, when people comes out, I tell them the story about number 7, Sergeant Deuce. And he just loves people. He'll go up and he'll just love on them. And
Oh,
it's amazing. I get to take Sergeant Deuce to ceremonies. And the donkey that Fort Sill got now, I get to see him for the winter break.
oh,
He
nice.
gets to come home.
That's very nice.
So yep.
So that leads me to
Yep.
my next question. And this is a tough question. What is the best part of your job?
I think the best part is when I get donkeys in that have never had a human contact, that has never had a brushing or a hand just stroking its mane, to look in their eyes and from going from mistrust
Yeah.
and fear to loving and wanting, that right there.
Yeah.
With these donkeys.
Okay.
And that's what drives me to keep doing is, yeah, when I look into their eyes, the scaredness, the mistrust is gone.
Yeah.
You see a trusting donkey. You see a donkey that wants to be loved.
Yep.
And that wants to give love.
Yep.
Donkeys are so misunderstood. People think they are nothing but junk animals, that they're not as worthy as horses.
Yep.
And it's untrue. It's untrue.
Well, let me ask
they
you
are actually
something.
smarter than a horse.
Okay. You wrote, quote, "My biggest dream is to go to the livestock auctions, the sales barns, get the donkeys before they get into the hands of the kill buyers, then have soldiers that have PTSD come out and work with the broken, rejected donkeys, taking 2 broken souls, putting them together to mend." Will you say more about that?
It takes money to do something like that.
Yeah.
And without people helping, we have a We have a couple of different things on our website now that even if you right now I have 20 over 2,600 people following me. If every one of them just donated a dollar a month, not a week, but just a month, I can go to these sales and I can get those donkeys out of there before they get shoved from here to there.
Yep.
And sometimes when the kill buyers get it, they have 3 other destinations, 3 other places, hubs. So when this donkey doesn't get sold, say like up in Jones, Oklahoma, then they'll ship them down to Kaufman,
Oh,
Texas. And if they don't sell down there, then they'll go and ship them over into Arkansas and see if they can't sell them there. If they don't sell, that's when they get shipped off.
boy.
So these babies are being stuffed in these trailers on top of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think they feel mentally and how scared they are
Yeah.
to be shoved in, and they shove them in with horses. So these many donkeys have these huge horses that stepping on them,
Yep.
biting them, kicking them. So that has been my dream for 6 years now, to do that, to give back to the military. The military has done so much for us.
Yes.
They've lost so much, and I want to give back to them. I mean, this is a passion, and I want to give back to them, but my hands are tied because
Yep.
I don't have the funds.
So,
Without the funds, there's nothing I can do.
so the idea of putting soldiers who have that PTSD with animals that have been mistreated seems like a perfect combination. And so the idea of you getting funding for it to make this happen would be a win-win for the Army and for these wonderful animals that you have rescued. So it's just a question
Yes.
of you getting the funds and people coming forward who'd want to facilitate this. So I hope
Yes.
who's ever listening to this might be so inspired. That's special work. That's God's work right there. Okay. I'm just going to say it. And it's a wonderful thing. So I hope you do get the funding that you need for this. Can I ask you on a different note, in terms of all the animals that you have, which are the most cantankerous? Which ones are the most you have to cajole or talk to? What would you say?
Well, I have this potbelly pig. She's Vietnamese potbelly pig.
Okay.
I raised her since she was 3 days old. I bottle raised her, but I can't leave her in with other people.
Okay.
This little girl, she took on my Highland bull one day. She was eating cubes, and the bull decided he wanted to come up and take her cubes. And she said, "No, I don't think so." She grabbed a hold of his horn, and he pulls his head up, and this big 75, well, I don't know, she's about 85 now, 85-pound pig is hanging off of his horn, and he's swinging his head, and she's just a squealing, but she's hanging on.
Okay.
She was not letting go. I come running out of the barn, and I said, "Rosie, drop the bull." And I kind of paused there for a second, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, why am I telling a small little pig to drop a bull? But
Yeah.
she had a hold of his horn. She dropped. She let the bull go. He backed up, looked at her, looked at the cubes, looked at her again, and said, "This is not worth it." And he walked off. So she got the pile of cubes all for herself.
So Rosie is a little bit Rosie.
Ornery.
Yeah, she gets what she wants, basically.
Yeah. Pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay, and the other question I have for you, how on earth did you get tortoises?
I had actually traded one of the miniature heifers. She was a Dexter, for a zonkey, which is a zebra donkey. So it's a donkey with zebra stripes.
Really?
Yes. and his name's Zed. Zed the Zonkey.
Of course.
So while I was picking up the Zonkey, he had these two tortoises, and he says, "I know you have a petting zoo." He said, "Would you like them?" I said, "Sure." So I went home that night and started doing all kinds of research because they're an exotic animal,
Yeah.
and so I did all the research, and we made them a nice big 4x8 insulated house for outside. They have 3 heat lamps that's in there for in the winter time, and they got a nice little area. And then during the day, I'll open up their cage, and they can go in the backyard, which is fully fenced in,
Okay.
and they just mosey around in the backyard. And when it's time for to go to bed, I say, "Come on, guys, it's time to go night night." And I'll call them Big Tom, and Tiny Tim, call them by their name,
Okay.
and they'll follow me right back into their house.
So
Yep.
you told us about the beginning of your day. How do you put everything to bed? Like, do they just know it's time to go back into the pens? Or do you have to round animals up?
No, actually, the tortoises, they will put themselves up.
Okay.
They'll go they'll go right back into their house. The chickens, they put themselves up. So it's not too bad in the evenings. Everybody knows where to go and they put themselves up. It's just the morning feeding is just kind of chaotic around here.
Well, I can imagine with so many
Yeah.
animals.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we have 53 acres, and some of the fencing is not the best fencing. So I've been going along replacing barbed wire and gates whenever I get the extra funds too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So about how many animals do you have at the ranch?
uh, hmm. Well, that's a good question. How many do you think we got now?
Ballpark?
I think ballpark is around 100 different animals with names.
Wow.
Between the donkeys, the goats, we named some of the chickens, the horses, prairie dogs, skunks,
Ducks.
ducks. Yeah, I did a full listing one time, and it was right around 100 different named animals.
And that doesn't include what the 3 that we just took in. 4 we took in.
Right.
Yeah, we took in an additional 4. We took in a Appaloosa horse,
Mm,
2 mini donkeys, and the standard donkey.
okay.
So
And I noticed on your Facebook page, you had a baby deer in your house. You have animals in your house, as well as inside, outside. So I get the picture. You have animals everywhere. Is that correct?
yeah, we do. We do. Yeah, my black horse, when he's in the backyard, I'll open up the back door in our den, and he'll walk right into the den. And I have Todd play some music, and we'll do a slow dance, my horse and I.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, when you want to, you just want to slow dance with your horse in the den.
That's right. Yeah.
And good for you for doing it.
Well, isn't that normal?
I don't know. I live with 4 cats and they run the house, so don't ask me. Well, in terms of talking about animals, I came across this quote, and it said, "Animals are the bridge between us and the beauty of all that is natural. They show us what's missing in our lives and how to love ourselves more completely and unconditionally. They connect us back to who we are and to the purpose of why we're here." And when I read that, I realized, whoa, they're talking about you two. I mean, you guys are master bridge builders for every heart connection you forge, and for all the lives you saved, and for all the lives you've touched. So I have to say, thank you, Diana and Todd, God, for your heartfelt work. It is, when you look at the world, and unfortunately, when you see the news, all we're bombarded with are cruel, vulgar, awful things. And then
Yeah.
we come across Todd and Diana. And here you guys are doing just one animal at a time, loving them and making a safe place for them. So I got to tell you, the shows I've done, I'm so happy to be able to doing this and having folks know who you are and where you're at. And I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you,
No,
Pat.
thank you, Pat.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, it's my honor and pleasure to have you on. And I want to thank you, listeners. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends.